is the Amp Hour Podcast. Released July 10th, 2017. Episode 351. The Automation Amish.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
I'm back.
What's up, nerd?
I hate computers.
Well, I'm not sure they're fond of you either.
Yeah, bastards. Everything's failing at the moment.
Yeah, you're like in that cycle of like, time to buy new ones or do the resets.
No, just a death spiral of bloody computer issues. My main machine, I've been tweeting like crazy about all the shit that's happening.
I've seen it, yes.
Yeah, my main computer, my main editing dual Xeon beast here is it looked like I thought my hard drives were failed. My main render hard drive had failed. No, turned out to be the SATA cable, giving smart data errors, as in smart, the acronym SMART, the hard disk, thing, as I'm sure most people know about. Pain in the ass. Yeah, it turned out to be the bloody SATA cable. Nothing wrong with my drive at all. And then my lab machine died. A Windows 10 update just killed my lab machine. I can't even repair it. Windows 10 repair doesn't work, so I've got to nuke that machine.
Okay.
And then my internet at the lab doesn't work, or it's on the blink. It's intermittent for some bloody reason I haven't figured out yet. Man.
So what are you going to do about it, man? Switch to Linux?
Linux ain't going to work if your internet's on the blink either.
No, that's true. But you could start.
Everyone said that.
I mean, you've overclocked everything, right? Or you have really overspec machines, right?
No.
Oh no. Oh.
Nope.
I was gonna say if you did, you could go and just use it all with virtual machines, and then.
Oh right, no.
If you have a problem,
stupid.
you just wipe it out and reload it. That kind of thing.
All the Linux fanboys come out of the bloody woodwork. Just stop it. Half of my shit works on Windows. I've been using Windows for 20 years. It's been working just fine. This is the first time ever that a machine is
that is incorrect.
What?
You've literally started another show the exact same way. I hate computers. Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't remember what show.
It's usually like printers or some other shit.
No,
Windows has
we've
never
done this before. We've totally done this one before.
I know it. No,
great! Let's go listen to every first 3 minutes of every episode.
You go back
just
and
to go prove you wrong.
Do it. Find where I can say that Windows has completely ruined my machine that it can't even recover. Wow. I bet you it's. I can never recall it happening. And Linux has its own. Bunch of crap.
That is not the answer. You're right, but
yeah, exactly.
But I'm just saying this is not the first time you've complained about this stuff.
No, I hate computers. They always suck ass.
Yeah.
Well, also what sucks ass, I'm trying to get this bloody thing working. I got one of these. We've talked about this in the past. TI sent me this millimeter wave radar thing.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I got one of those eval kits, right? And I thought, that's exciting. I want to play with this thing. It works at 80 gig, right? It's a
cool.
This whiz bang chip. It's like chip of the week. It's absolutely killer, right? And it bloody well doesn't work. I follow.
So is it like the dev kit doesn't work or what?
No, the dev kit does not work out of the box. I swear. I've tried on 2 different machines, and 2 different operating systems.
Going on there? No.
I followed their instructional video to the letter. I followed their instructional guide to the letter.
So the
first issue was that it doesn't detect the serial ports properly because it generates 2 serial ports. One's for data and one's for comms and stuff. And then it talks to a web-based app, like a cloud-based demo app. And
I see. So their software guys are all writing JavaScript, and their hardware guys are all writing serial terminals.
Right, it's serial. Yeah, and it can't even detect. Windows can't even detect the ports properly. It's just my god.
I've had that. Those are the most frustrating ones because it's
Yeah.
Well, it happens on every system where it's like it just doesn't detect it. You probably don't have drivers installed. Usually that's the answer, right?
No. I managed to get the drivers working. I managed to get the app to communicate. So I thought, yes, problem solved, right? So I managed to actually solve that issue temporarily. Anyway, and then no, like, and it said connected to the board, everything's fine. I'm running their cloud app. I connect to the cloud app, everything's working, and then there's just no data coming out of the thing. So
you
it's
just
like,
start sending like a $50 tablet with the eval hardware.
With the eval hardware, yeah,
right.
exactly.
It's
That's
made
already
for some
pre-installed.
crap ass MediaTek processor, $50 tablet, and it just but it'll work. It'll work for the first 2 hours of operation, and that's what most people use the demos for, anyways. You'll go, oh, that's interesting. Moving on.
So anyway, I went on the support forum, and they now want me to provide screenshots of what the dumps what the serial things are doing.
Don't you have like a young Padawan that could be doing all this stuff for you?
Yeah, I do, but he tried it as well, and it failed for him.
Oh
too.
Man, maybe you made the wrong hire there. You got to get a different Padawan.
No, he's just busy doing shit at the moment.
Yeah.
Like it's a low priority thing.
That is a common thing with dev kits specifically. I mean, because I was talking to someone today about the software side from chip companies, right? He said something like each dollar you spend on the software is $1 taken away from the margin on the hardware, right?
Right.
So, and especially like a big chip maker, right? They are focused on the margin around the chip itself, right? Any support activity.
That's their business. They make money from selling chips, right?
And they make good money from it, right? And so anything that erodes that, it's and I say good money that they have priced in the margin are supposed to be high, just because they have a lot of support. You got to support the fab, support the sales staff, whatever. So, yeah. So yeah, it's very for people that don't regularly use dev boards, right? Especially if you're like buying them off, you buy them from an online distributor. It's surprising how many times they still show up with a DB9 port on them, and you're like, okay, where do I plug this in? My MacBook doesn't even have regular USBs anymore, so it's like, I got.
Well, this one actually forces you to use the Chrome browser, so too bad if you don't like Chrome, like because it uses a Chrome plugin. You got to install a Chrome plugin to work, and you got to install 2 different plugins before you can get the thing to talk to the TI cloud.
Oh wow. See, that is interesting too. That I think that a lot of the technology it follows the trend of available software engineers as much as anything else, right? And so that'll continue to happen. I think in that it might have been in the past you would have some application built for your so enough people were using Windows and you build this thing in Java because you can get Java programmers, no big deal. And now it's like, well, it's a lot easier to get a lot of JavaScript developers. And then you just get that one guy that ties the JavaScript implementation or the browser-based implementation over to the hardware. And if that breaks, you're up creek, Yeah.
Anyway, I'm totally deflated now. I was very excited. I plugged it in and I thought, I'll do a quick video on this. And nah. It's going to take days to solve this problem.
I've spent 2 or 3 days getting a dev kit off the ground. Yeah. And that's like... That's just to Blinky or just to
of course.
to
Mine
pulling
is just
in data
running
to
the out of the box demo. It's supposed to work out of the box. And I almost went down the wrong rabbit hole, right? Because I opened the box, and it gives you a nice little card which gives you a link to the quick installation guide or the install, the dev kit manual or whatever. So I'm reading the dev kit manual. It says, it's got all these demos and stuff. Right? And I go, great, this is exactly what I want. I want to be able to, just a quick demo to see the radar system working. I can wave my hands in front of it. And,
right. Yeah, that's the thing they show that the software guy, the sales guys show off, right? That's what they want to do.
It's talking about all this stuff, and then it's going, it's available in the dev kit software. So I go look at the dev kit software, and I'm going, oh shit, look at all this. So I downloaded it, and it's all the source code. Like there's no executable to run, and then I'm going, shit, I've got to install Code Composer, which is TI's, thing to do this. And I thought, this can't be right. And I eventually stumbled upon a demo video that they had online of this thing and show you how the out-of-the-box experience works. And they go, just go to this web address and you use this online cloud thing and it just works. And it's a serial port. You don't have to install the Code Composer and all that. And I went, that wasn't clear out of the box.
Right, exactly.
I think it's it might be one tiny line in the installation manual or something, but it's non-obvious. So I almost went down the rabbit hole of installing Code Composer and running, compiling code and doing all sorts of stuff when I didn't have to.
And that's what it is. It's like I've been in that situation too, where it's like you basically like you flail and then you look for, you start Googling, you find a forum post, you're like, oh, that's close enough.
Then your knowledge kicks in, right? Then your technical knowledge kicks in, and
not
I can
always
solve
for me,
this,
buddy.
right?
Oh, like that, you mean? Oh,
right, yeah. Like it goes,
right.
it must be this. It must be this, right? I can do this, right?
I've seen this one before. This looks, you start pattern matching. You're like, oh, this is probably, right. I probably have to rebuild the Windows kernel.
Yeah, right. Or something like, you just, like, your mind just goes to the most complex issue it could be, because you're a technical person, and that just instantly pops into your head, all these technical things that can go wrong, and you think it must be that, and you go down that rabbit hole, and you just go insane. Yeah, they put you in a straitjacket. Anyway,
so I've had a fun
done work.
I've had a fun side project as you've been talking here too. I found 5 separate tweets where you're talking about how Windows 10 borked your computer.
Right.
Don't say Chris Campbell doesn't follow up on things, folks. Yeah.
Yes, but never has it not recovered. Never.
Right.
Never has it totally nuked my hard drive that I cannot even repair it.
Wait, let's see. I can find that one.
There's been quite a few Windows
Tried
issues
to update
over
Windows
the
10 and we couldn't. Wait, is this recent? No, this is August 2015.
Oh yeah, that was on my I tried to update Windows 10 on my Xeon machine here, and it doesn't support my board. It doesn't support my dual Xeon motherboard. Man. Which is not surprising. I don't blame it for that.
Twitter. Yeah, good old Twitter.
I was just having a bitch because I wasted half a day trying to do it,
Okay, don't worry. I'm not going to hold it against you. Well, we all know that, using a computer and high-level software is not as simple as blinking a light bulb.
No. How do you blink a light bulb? You can't do it mechanically, I've heard.
Yeah, so we were before the show. We were watching Krasnow's latest video, and then we found all the other entries. This is a weird ass prize, but I kind of love it. I mean, it's just like it's reminiscent.
Tell us the contest, son.
Yeah, it's the Flashing Light Prize 2017. I have no idea who started this. I probably should have read this.
Right, it's probably in the FAQ or something. I don't know.
Grand prize of £200. So obviously they're pommies. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh?
And they're flashing systems on Twitter.
Yes.
That's all we know.
Rockcraft, Peter Knight, and James Larson will be the judges. These are all the things that we're literally reading off the website right now. But what we've been seeing is a lot of fun projects pop up, and it's making me reminisce for the days of the 555 contest.
The 555 contest that I told you would be a...
What? A bitch and a half to...
A bitch and a half to
administer,
to manage, and you admitted I was right in the end.
Yeah, you were right in the end. That is correct. Yep. There's one for you, buddy. There's one. But already
Sorry,
there's been...
who are the judges? Peter Knight and James Larson. They don't ring a bell. I'm sorry if it should ring a bell.
I'll try and find them on Twitter later.
Right. Yep.
But yeah, so we found this because I've seen people intermittently talking about it on Twitter.
The only reason I found this because it popped up on Mike. Mike did a video, and then
Mike was doing one, right? Exactly.
And then Applied Science Ben Krasnow popped up, and I went, what's this?
Yeah. So lots of fun entries, and we found out it's going till August 1st. So if you're listening to this, and it's not August 1st, 2017, you too can flash a light bulb. So we were trying to figure out. So you said no mechanicals. Right.
Apparently, you're not allowed to do it mechanically. It has to be electrically done.
Right. Yes.
And I think I saw. I haven't watched all of Mike's video, but I think he used a relay, so I'm not sure if that's allowed.
Right.
Or not.
Well, they're saying no shutters though too, so you can't just block the light and then move it.
Yes,
right?
You can't block the light. Right. The filament has to go off and on. It's got to be a filament. None of this lead rubbish. Right. It's got to.
Yeah. Too modern. Yep. Well, you had an interesting idea.
Maybe
we don't want to give this away, huh?
I know I'm going to give it away.
I mean, where are you going to get one, right? Where are you going to get one?
I'm going to blow my wad here. Okay. I thought it was too easy to make it too easy and obvious to make it the world's smallest or the world's lowest part count.
Yeah, you didn't watch Ben's video.
Right. It's, but that was just too obvious, right? So I would go for the biggest or the most complicated. So I had an idea, find an abandoned lighthouse and then flash that sucker at a half a hertz.
Come on, Andy. Come on, photonic induction.
Yeah,
we
I know.
We
It's
know you're out there.
It's totally a photonic induction thing. Yeah. Or make it like the most ridiculously complex way to flash a filament bulb possible. You know.
Right, like a Rube Goldberg style.
Rube Goldberg style flasher. Yeah, but then that's going to be mechanical, so it'd have to be an electrical. Rube Goldberg.
Maybe you could have it like hot
whether or
from
not it can be mechanical and then the actual flash-in is electrical. That might be allowed, you see.
See, and this is why it's hard to run contests, because then a-holes like us, we go and ask these questions.
Yeah, I know. We just want to.
You gotta really plan
loopholes.
for every contingency and every
stupid idea. Yeah, like that come from people like us. You know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, that does look like fun though. So I'm looking forward to seeing all these prizes.
There's quite a few entries already. So.
Yeah. Well, don't get discouraged. I think the thing that I like about this, and whenever I talk about contests, right, like the thing that I always think is the reason the 555 contest was even remotely interesting, and it was Jerry's idea in the first place, right? So
right.
I take no credit.
We discussed it on the Amp Hour. Didn't we come up with the idea on the Amp Hour or something, or after an Amp Hour episode
maybe.
or something?
I don't remember. I just credit it all to Jerry.
Right.
So the thing that's interesting about it is just that like having like one simple constraint like that, right? So that's great.
Yep.
And then I think Hackaday did a 1 square millimeter? No, not square millimeter. The square centimeter contest or something like that. Square inch contest.
Right.
Yeah.
And we always wanted to do the 1K code contest.
The 1K. And I think someone did something like that.
I think someone might have eventually done one, but we've been wanting to do that since like we first started the show. I think we had the idea for that. You know, give us your best project in 1K of code.
Right.
You know.
Right. And if other people want to do
David
it,
here's nodding his head. David over here, he's going, yep, I'll enter that. Employees of EEVblog are not allowed to enter if I run it. Oh, sad face.
No, I think Hackaday did one of these too. Let's see.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
1K code, and of course you have to do it in assembler because like there's no other way to fit.
We don't have to. It's just not going to do as much interesting things.
You probably can't do as much stuff.
Right. So.
Yep.
Yeah. So those kind of like constraints are really fun.
I
like
love
those
the constraint-based contests are good. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because like the ones where it's like super open, like even I guess an X Prize is constrained. It's just a ridiculous constraint of like go to the moon or whatever they're doing, the Lunar X Prize, stuff like that.
The Lunar X Prize, kind of the other extreme. Which they failed, unfortunately. The one that I was involved with, which was the Audi Lunar Quattro one. You remember it came to my lab. They actually bought the actual lunar rover to my lab, the huge lunar
that's
rover,
right. Yeah.
Right, and they finally had to pull out.
No.
It was that was like 6 months ago or something. They had to. Yep. So sadly, I think it's still technically it goes until the end of this year, doesn't it?
I thought it went until
the end of next year.
I thought it was
like
in a trust. I thought it went until it went. You know what I mean? Like
no. I think there was a deadline.
Oh, okay.
Whether or not they're going to extend it, I'm not sure, but we'll have to check the Lunar X Prize website.
And there are different X Prizes as well. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, you can go to xprize.org, and then there's active prizes. So there's Google Lunar X Prize. You get $30 million for 5 teams. They're in the testing and certification phase. There's the Learning X Prize. Oh wow, these are cool. The
Audi Quattro won one of those prizes. It was like it won one of the stage prizes or something.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to spend some time on this. This is cool.
Mm.
So we'll put a link in. There's a bunch of active stuff. They're in different phases though, and stuff like that. Boy, there's a lot of money here. What am I doing talking to you, man? We should go build something, yeah?
Oh yeah, we'll just start from scratch and build
just just jump in whenever. Yeah.
A lunar.
Yeah.
Rover. Yeah.
Blah blah blah. Send something to the moon.
No problem.
Yeah.
Piece of cake.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good luck to people doing the flashing lights thing. You can win not millions, but hundreds of pounds.
Fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory.
That's right. Yep.
Great stuff.
But we should mention as well, since I brought up the 555 contest and Jerry, the unfortunate but true news. It has been verified.
It's about a week and a bit old now.
Yeah, of course.
We didn't do a show last week. We probably could have, and we would have been Johnny on the spot with the news, but
right.
It's old news now.
We've never really been that timely, No,
we haven't. Stupid weekly schedule, Like 5 companies go bust in a week.
Right, exactly.
In our industry, it's like
right.
can't even keep up. Yeah, sadly, Cast AR, Jerry's company, Technical Illusions, or formerly Technical Illusions, has shut its doors. It's insolvent. It's just bam, gonski.
Gonski, yep.
Yeah, and based on Jerry, well, I haven't actually spoken to her apart from a tweet that she replied to me. I think it's
she said
her
she has
only
free
tweet
time
on
now,
the issue.
so,
She has free time, so presumably she was marched out the door with the rest of them.
I don't think there's that. No, come on.
No. Like she's still a shareholder, right? She's still a huge shareholder.
Right, but it takes a while to shut that stuff down.
Yeah, but obviously, based on her tweet, they're probably not still working on stuff. I think they're.
No, I can't imagine they are. I'm sure they're just shopping it around.
They're shopping the company around.
Right,
but whether or not it sounds like, there's two ways to shop a company around. You shop the company which is just the IP, right? Which is just the patents that they have. Which she took from Valve. Valve gave it to her in a nice gesture and said, "Here you go, they're your patents," and which of course she would have had to, which she has signed over the rights to when she took all the investment capital in. So Jerry doesn't own the patents anymore. She's just a shareholder in the company.
Right, any kind of and that's how it's designed too, so that
exactly.
They can't go after them, right? So
right.
Yeah.
So
So
the company owns the patents. So the company owns the IP, and Jerry's just now a shareholder in the company, just like a bunch of others. And so there's two ways to shop a company. Either shop it just based on its IP, like that's the only thing that people want, the IP. To sell the patents, sell any other tech, which you may have prototypes or systems or whatever, code or whatever. And the other is to sell the talent, or a combination of both.
Right, an acqui-hire, as they call it.
Acqui-hire, is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's when there's less than valuable IP, but you really want to get the employees. So you
want to get the employees,
So another company will buy it for a token amount with the basically like an employment contract that incentivizes
so whether
people
or not
to stay.
I'd be interested to know whether or not like Jerry is done with it, or whether or not like she would go with the company, or other talent, Rick and other talent would go with the company if they were able to sell it for presumably pennies on the dollar, because maybe because they're in desperate straits, like they're out of business. So it's not like they're in a commanding position to sell the company. It's basically entering a formal liquidation. So presumably some sort of firm will come in and manage the sale of the assets, be they IP or talent, I guess. But I don't know. It's complex legal stuff, I'm sure.
Right.
Which we have no idea about.
Well, and another thing about companies too is that sometimes when the corporate structure set up and all the funding set up, the people that are doing the funding get their money back first, that kind of thing. So I'm sure that.
But they don't have any money. Well, yes. So when they sell it off, if they just sell off the IP, then the money goes to the original investors first.
Yep.
So that'll all be in the contracts and whatnot. But
so, anyways, we'll try and catch up with
in the
Jerry.
Liquidation.
Yeah.
They take their $1 million chunk probably. That they take their big, very lucrative to. I joked on Twitter the other day. Somebody who was shutting down Theranos, was it Theranos? They were who was
Snake Oil.
Yeah, anyway, it was one of those, ridiculous companies that were going to fail anyway. And there's this company that specializes in just selling the assets.
That's right, like the chairs.
And they had like 500 chairs and 500 monitors and like desks and stuff.
No, that's the thing. Like that's one of the. They said that was like one of the hottest startups in Silicon Valley is the people who liquidate startups that fail.
Yes. So I tweeted that, and I thought that was Yep.
That's fun.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw a bunch of the people that were Cast AR folks. They came to my meetup that was out.
Oh,
not
okay.
my meetup, the meetup that I run out in San Francisco, and so I got to talk to some of them. But sounded like it was unfortunate but not wholly unexpected from what I could tell.
Unfortunately, my spidey sense was saying it was just too long without hearing anything. I can understand the stealth aspect of it, but it was just, I don't know.
I always wonder about that kind of stuff. You know, like
yeah.
you can't.
But like I was hoping, obviously, that they'd magically, at the end of it, come out with this, they'd win. But they simply ran out of money, and that's what happens. Like once the money literally runs out overnight, or like we've got a week's worth of money left, and there's no more investment.
Runway, it's called, Dave. Runway.
Yeah, runway is it? Yes, right. And they don't. And that's the problem with a company that's not actually selling anything, that doesn't have any income stream. It's just everything's outgoing. They're just bleeding cash until they either get bought
and
out.
They had also brought on a game
win.
studio and stuff as well.
Right,
so,
but I don't think they had any income, right?
No, I can't. No.
So,
yep. Well, we'll try and get Jerry on again at some point in the future.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yep.
So to find out all the gory details of that, but that's a shame. So.
Yeah, that's what happens with the old raising money and stuff.
Yeah, once the money runs out, game over. Game over, man. Sorry, I can't do the accent.
What's that from?
Aliens. Alien.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Yeah. Game over, man. What? You've never seen Alien?
Nope.
Oh, what?
Sorry.
Oh.
I don't like alien movies.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
They freak me out, so.
Oh, God. Oh. You're going to cop a bunch of abuse over that.
Well, I can always edit it out, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, you know what doesn't scare me?
What?
This is a terrible segue coming. Cheaper cables. I'm actually really interested in this. So Ian, who we've had on the show before, from Dangerous Prototypes, he's been living in Shenzhen for a couple years now, and they keep kind of busting out new services, kind of interfacing the maker world to the Shenzhen world.
To the Shenzhen world, yep.
Yeah, and this is another. So they've got like dirty PCBs and dirty laser cuts, and I forget what they call them.
I didn't know they did dirty PCBs. I didn't know they.
Yeah. That's all Dangerous Prototypes.
Okay.
So they do dirty PCBs.
Right. Okay.
They have like a 3D printing service, and I think they have a laser cutter service, where it's just and maybe even stencils or something.
Right.
But just basically taking advantage of the super low cost on-site manufacturing capabilities, and then interfacing it to the rest of the world, handling logistics and shipping and all that other stuff. But
so this
is
new one solves a big pain point.
Exactly, and this is what I'm most interested in, is because, well, it's not even. I guess this has been about a month, a little bit, well, a couple weeks old now. But it's called Dirty Cables, and basically you can go and spec out a cable type, and then they'll get it made. And well, yeah, like you alluded to, the pain point is just handling cabling is. I mean, I used to do that too, and
you want
terrible.
a custom cable in your product. You want a custom board-to-board interconnect cable. It's got like a Molex connector on each end, and you want it a specific length and colors and number of wires and everything. Like you can't buy them off the shelf usually. So it's
right, yeah.
Well,
and I think we've talked about it in the past that I was doing. I was buying the Seed Studio ones with the Grove connector, which is a 4-pin JST 2mm.
But Murphy will ensure that it's not suitable for your particular project, and you've got to go custom, right?
Maybe. I mean, I designed literally around that, though. Like, that was the idea. Not around the connector, but around the cable, the assembled cable which you could buy.
Yeah, because you could buy it for 50 cents or whatever.
Exactly, and like it was a SKU on the shelf. Like that's what I targeted, because, like you said,
SKU, for those who don't know, SKU, stock keeping unit. It means basically in stock item that you can just buy off the shelf.
Well, yeah, it's like it's a unique identifier of a product that someone's making. And it means when someone says off the shelf, it's going to have a SKU, right? So
so you can specify that in your bill of materials. You just go, it's this manufacturer, this part number, this SKU number,
right?
And that's it.
Instead of and if you go and make your own cable and then you sell it to someone else, you're going to also give it an SKU because you want to. Yeah. So, anyways, but I think that is totally. It's not always the right solution, right? Sometimes you will have a custom cabling need, but you're going to pay for it in pain and AutoCAD drawings.
You've just got to deal with the company, and you've got to,
Well, and stateside, trying to get like a cable manufacturing stateside, I mean, this is just a really intensive amount of work, right? And so, so for people that don't know, like if you want to get a cable made, usually you got to go and find someone with the right cable crimping machine, right? Crimping is like people have probably done that before. You could buy a hand crimper, but your forearm will quickly cramp up. Crimper becomes cramper. That was terrible. And then you have like a special type of metal crimp that basically mechanically bonds to the wires, because you're creating a pressure seal between the metal of the crimp and the metal of the wire. And then once you do that, you have to then go and insert that now crimped wire end, or wire ends more likely, into some kind of housing that will actually end up being the plug. So like all those actions, it's terrible. It's really, really terrible. And so
So you want someone to do all that crap. You don't want to be if
Right.
you're crimping your own cables, you're doing it wrong.
Right. Well, I mean, it's okay for one prototype, but
Right.
if you can design
no.
yeah, if you can design in the cable,
maybe if
it's
you're
better.
making 10 units or something, it's okay. But
Right, or if you have like really custom, like if you have like a really custom need, like say you need a cable run that's like 200 meters, right? You probably are willing to put the stuff on the end, because you're not going to be able to buy some off-the-shelf 200-meter cable with like a 4-pin JST.
We had to do that all the time when I was working in our production environments. Like we'd have all these customized test jigs with these massive 100-way cables, and we'd have to do our own cable looms and solder on the cable connectors. And I have fond memories of doing that. And then getting your 100-way connector backwards,
Right.
because you use the left facing diagram instead of the right facing diagram.
Right. And what's the most important piece of equipment in that scenario?
Time.
No, a label maker.
Label maker.
Yeah, man, label every single
Sanity.
wire. Each wire
right,
has its own label. Yep.
But which means jack shit if you get it back to front.
That's true. Yes, you're right.
Man, it was like because we had anyway.
Any industrial
Horrific.
field engineers, like they know they're cringing in pain
They're
right now
all
too.
nodding their head.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, been there, done that.
Yep.
Soldered that D25 backwards. Yep.
Yep. So, anyways, this is
man.
exciting. I'd love to hear if people have done this. I haven't tried it yet. I will at some point. So
I'm sure it just happens very smoothly. You pays your money and you get your cables. You give them a diagram and
Well, you actually
Bob's your uncle.
there's an online like builder basicly.
Oh,
So
online build. Oh,
it's like a drag and drop.
Wow, fancy pantsy.
So yeah, this is exciting. Seeing we'll need to try it out, and like I said, if anyone's tried it out already, would love to hear about it.
Yep.
There is a sample kit as well. Yeah, there's a sample kit available in the store for $9.95. So if you want to see what you can actually get in terms of
Can they do any type of connector you like? Can you just specify?
No.
Right.
There's this fixed menu. But
okay.
But that's the best thing, Command. I mean, like you should really.
Yeah, no, because your decision's made for you, right?
Right. Exactly. It's a constraint system, right? That's what you really want.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I wish them the best. What else is on the list? Well, once your cable's done, what else do you need? Dave.
I don't know. You're going to tell us, obviously.
You need an on-device voice assistant.
No, you don't.
Pretty much the same.
No, you don't.
No.
No.
This is interesting. This is a new one.
Just
This is
no.
we had talked about what was it called? It was called Jarvis, I think. There was a Jarvis one. It was based on Raspberry Pi, or is installed on Raspberry Pi. And this is another one called Snips. I don't know what the hell it stands for. Probably some kind of acronym. But basically, the interesting thing about this, right? So this kind of gets back to what I ended up talking to John Oxer about with like security and with connecting all over the world. If you want, so say you personally, Dave, we're going to get an Alexa, right? Like all these internet connected, whatever, Alexas.
Why the hell would I get one of those?
Just play along for a second. But say you were going to, all right, I'm going to get an Alexa, right? I'm going to get a whatever, the Echo or the, there's a new one, the screen that's kind of looks like the Chumby. But basically, you say like, oh, I'm going to mess with people now. Alexa, turn on the light, right? Or Alexa, buy a dollhouse.
Flash my filament bulb at 0.5 hertz.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, right. Alexa, turn on. Alexa, turn off. We just won the contest. Sorry to anyone who actually has one in their vicinity. But the idea being that, okay, so like following the chain of like, so you're talking to the device, it's listening for the trigger word. Here's the trigger word on device. It has probably some kind of chip on device listening for that trigger word, and then it sends off a request to the cloud. The cloud then talks back down to your Philips Hue bulb or whatever it is, and then exactly right.
Is
and
there
the
a
problem
point
is,
here?
the problem is that when
It's just stupid.
it's what John talked about, is when the internet goes out, your bulb doesn't work, which is stupid. Yes, you were correct about that. But the idea is, if you're going to build an in-house assistant, right? So again, this is what we were talking to John about a bunch. I was talking to John about. Someone did skip the show. Then you can create like a more local network, right? So then basically you could just go over Wi-Fi. That's really the idea. Is that's what needs to happen for faster response time. The difference being that, you know, if you need to get some kind of like linguistic processing NLP unit on board, it's not going to be as good as something that's trained against lots and lots of different words, like a Google Assistant or an Alexa Assistant or whatever. So that's the whole point.
It's also not going to be as good as just a mechanical switch.
Yeah, that's true. Who did I talk to about that? I met up with someone. It was someone in San Francisco. They said they were installing a new thing in their house. Oh, it was Joe, one of the guys who's giving a bunch of talks out there. He was saying he just installed a bunch of new stuff. He's like, yeah, and I just did it with digital stuff. I'm like, you're gonna rue that day.
Can you foresee a future where, you know, all the self-driving cars and all this Alexa bloody voice commanded
Computer.
lights bullshit,
Computer.
right?
Hello, computer.
Can you envisage a future where there will be a whole community of people who will just like not want to do this out of like principle, just because it's like I don't know, they might be called old schoolers or something. I don't know. They might be just like resist all this automation shit because it's just like.
You mean like the Amish?
I don't know. What, the new modern version of the digital Amish?
The digital
Right,
Amish. I like that. Yeah.
There's a T-shirt.
Digital Amish,
I'm a digital Amish.
Yeah, right.
All right. No, I'm an automation Amish or something.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like I can picture people.
Yeah, of course.
like,
I mean, it already is happening,
you know,
right? Right.
Well,
Being like giving an
it's
interface
already,
or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably examples out there that aren't immediately coming to mind. I'm sure there's people who, you know, don't just, you know, like are refusing to use technology just because, like, even though they can, it's just like they just don't want to, and it's just becoming too much, and like they
I
just
think they're
like
called
the
old
feel
people,
of,
Dave. Old people.
No. There's
You're rapidly entering this group. I mean, there are some benefits to it, but yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be any kind of like groundswell thing. I think it'll just be like, yeah, some people will, some people won't. The ones,
Right.
the things that are actually useful, yeah, they'll, like
right,
there is
rise
benefit to
the top.
doing some of this
yeah,
stuff.
No, I think it's unavoidable for the things that are genuinely universally
Sure,
useful, and it's just stupid to do it any other way but automated. Then it, you know, it'll win out. But you know, there I think there will be a lot of stuff that will be, you know, people will just want to do it the old-fashioned way because it's just better and simpler. Like a light switch will always be better, simpler, cheaper, more reliable than any automation system in the future. Any.
I don't argue with that.
There will always be value in the light switch, for example. I cannot envisage a future where an automated light switch is so fundamentally better concept that you'd just be dumb to use a light switch.
I think the main thing being
I can't
that
see it.
It's like it's because we're thinking in terms of like systems that we know now, right? You can't imagine a I don't know, what would be a good example? You can't imagine using a PC when using one of those paper reel calculators worked great, right? Because the paper on the paper reel calculator is always cheaper than buying a new computer. However, most people don't use a computer to do, adding sums and stuff like that for accounting. It's the idea is that it's just going to it's going to be some new opportunity is going to make it, I think the thing is that the actual opportunity, we're thinking in terms of light switches, but the actual opportunity in, say, lighting is probably stuff that we haven't thought of yet. I don't know what that would be, but I assume that most of the applications that'll actually make anything like this catch on have not been invented yet and or have not hit the mainstream yet. So.
Yet
I have to apologize as well. Apparently the fireworks here, it's July 5th, and apparently the fireworks are not over. Either that or it's just the usual Chicago gunfire. One of the two.
Right. It's that semi-automatic
Yeah,
fireworks. You're right.
I was thinking about it. So, Chicago has a legitimate gun problem, which I don't joke about. It's really
it's one
bad.
of the highest.
Yeah, it's really bad. But I was thinking about, so Alicia from Embedded, she used to work on the ShotSpotter, right? Which was like this cool system that would just, record instances of like high impulse sound.
It's a website, right? And it maps it, doesn't it? Or
it maps
something.
it, but there's hardware involved as well.
Right.
But I was just thinking about like, man, around this time of year, it's got to just be going nuts. Like talk about false
Isn't there
positives.
like an app on your phone or something that you can tie? I think I saw this just recently. App on your phone that can tie into that ShotSpotter or something.
Oh,
that
probably.
can then, like, if there's a like a public shooting incident, like everyone, like your app kicks in and it tells you where the gunshots are coming from.
Oh,
or some
interesting.
Shit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that would be
Something like
good.
that.
Yeah, like kind of like one of those alerts that your phone can't ignore. That'd be good.
Only in America.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
But
yeah.
we'll move on from that. But
Anyway.
yeah, just false positives.
Right.
So, so I don't know. I just think, so this kind of system is interesting because it seems pretty accessible. I've seen, we've had, were you on the show when Gerald and Bertrand were on? They were Audim. Do you remember them?
Well, I don't know. We've done too many shows.
Well, we had those guys on the show, and they were doing a similar thing where it was on, I think it was a MediaTek processor, maybe with, what's the other cheaper one? It's either MediaTek or the other cheap one, like the BM, whatever, Broadcom or someone else. But it was like an A11, A13 processor, and basically they had put some of this stuff onto hardware.
All winner, perhaps. Maybe it's the all winner.
Oh, it might have been all. Yeah, you're right. It might have been all winner.
Yeah.
That's the other one. And yeah, so I don't know. Like it's. I think there is a lot of value rather to doing this stuff on hardware. If you're going to do voice, I think it is good to put it locally. In terms of whether or not voice is actually needed, that's a different question, right? So, like you said, there are always going to be the digital Amish. I'm sure that I'm talking to one of them. But I think, like the more I use it, the more there are some nice uses, not like there are very first world problems that I'm solving, right? Like, I've got avocado on my hand and I need to turn on the radio or turn on my podcast, right? It's like, okay, come on, Chris. Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, it's nice. I got a lot less avocado on my phone.
Smashed avocado, first world problem.
Yes, right. Avocado toast. The scourge of the Aussies.
Right, that's
why you can't afford real estate
houses.
in Australia.
Yes, you know all about it. Yeah.
Yes.
It's an Aussie smashed avocado. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Aussies will get the joke. Yeah.
Yes. They talk about it here now too. I see it all over the internet.
Really? Really?
Yeah,
okay.
it's stupid.
Right, it's sort of made its way over the pond.
Yeah.
Did it?
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Indeed.
It's a great metric,
Yeah.
Google it. Smashed avocado and houses. Can we stop talking about freaking automated voice command crap?
Sure. What else?
It makes me want to go and rewatch Firefox. Is it Firefox?
Firefly?
With the movie Firefox. Firefox with oh goodness.
This is why he's in the old group, folks.
Clint Eastwood, Firefox. He 1982, where he's a pilot and he goes and steals this Russian, this new Russian jet or the new Russian spy plane, and he has to command it, and he's got to think like it's all this super automated thing, and it's like it can read like you've got to think to turn left, and it turns left, kind of, yeah, and he had to think in Russian. To be able to actually confuse, to so that the system would, because he couldn't think in English and then translate it. He had to think in Russian, and that's the only way to, this helmet super automated plane. Anyway, yep. Got to watch that again. Firefox. Classic. Yeah. Yep. Anyway, that was yes, that was a very that was very high tech, like very futuristic at the time. To think,
of course, right.
You can control an aircraft with your thoughts. You know, that was like, you know, really, really beyond its time. So
Yep.
Anyway,
well, let's talk about more shit shutting down, huh?
Oh yeah, why not? Yeah, doom and gloom in the industry. Here we go. Come on, that's what we need.
Intel
good
killed
doom
all
and gloom.
their stuff. Did you see that stuff? That
No,
was a while.
what'd
Again,
they
this
kill?
is old news.
Oh yes. Intel killed all their Internet of Things dev boards. They realized Internet of Things was full of shit, and they went, "Nah, we're just getting out of this business. This is embarrassing."
Right. So Joule, Galileo, Edison.
I don't want to put. Did you find out why they did? What's the reason? Because all I heard is that they shut down. Yeah, the Intel Edison, all their Internet of Things development boards. You know, they made a big splash a couple of years ago. We now no doubt talked about it and said, "Wow, Intel are getting into this Internet of Things," and now they've gone, "Nope."
I'm guessing the answer is money, money and lack of adoption. Also, the fact that nobody could use the
nobody gave
the
a
Galileo and the Edison. It's like these. All right, here's my thing. I was thinking about this today. Intel has gotten in and out of the embedded business like 5 times, and I don't know if you would call this in the embedded business.
Intel started in the embedded business.
Sure, right, but they also got out of
realize
it.
That.
They will get. And here's the thing: they're going to do this again.
Of course they will.
In a couple
5 years
years
down the track, they'll be
they're
back
going to do it again, right? Especially with ARM doing as well as it has been doing.
We'll be in our twilight years, and we'll still be talking about them doing it.
But here's the thing. It's great. I knew this was going to happen as soon as I saw they had all this stuff out. They threw a lot of money at this, and you know, to their credit, they tried. They supported.
They did it really well. They did it. They made it Arduino, Windows compatible Arduino thing or something. It was like really they put a lot of effort into it.
Sure. And but this is going to happen again, and you're going to get taken again. Sorry to people who did it, right? And the thing is, they went after people that were software people that were looking to get into hardware, and so they could put Windows 10 on it, and that made a lot of sense too.
It was another bandwagon that they wanted to jump on because somebody at Intel wanted to justify their job, and let's jump on this bandwagon. They got big pat on the back and a pay rise, and they're probably off to some other shit now.
Right. Well, I talked earlier about the the margin of a chip company, right? And you get into these small things like people making ARM chips are not making a ton of margin, right?
Oh no,
that's
no,
crazy.
It's a cutthroat business.
And Intel is used to making a ton of margin. And this again, I will give my prediction like I always do. This is the only prediction I consistently make. Intel is going to break off their server business, their chip making business from everything else, because I just think that if they ever want to do anything else from an IP basis, especially doing like taking on ARM, which they'll have to eventually do,
the board of directors will eventually kill it because it's not making enough margin compared to all the other business
you compare
units.
The old business to the new business, you say, why aren't you like that? And it's like, well, I can't be like that because it's not the 90s.
That happens in every business. That happens in every big business because the board of directors, they look at all the business, when you've got a company this big, you've got
Dave's
business
about to say
units.
Fiduciary. He's going to say fiduciary.
They do have fiduciary responsibility. That is correct.
Every time. Every friggin' time. He loves saying it.
Yeah, because it's the way of the world. It's why companies, are run like they are.
Yep.
Because it's run for the shareholder benefit. It's not run for the public good. It's not run for feel good. If you want to run a feel good company, you don't go public, right? You don't have shareholders.
Right.
Otherwise, it's a legal responsibility. I'll go through it again.
No,
it's
please
a legal responsibility.
Don't. Please don't.
Anyway, so look at Google it. Fiduciary responsibility.
Right. Yes.
And if you want to know,
we should
why
also say that there's no news about the Curie. So we're just reading off Hackaday here. So
I thought it was all of them.
No, Curie's still no announcement on the demise of Curie. So
anyway, they didn't just abandon it by the way. Like they actually give you it's been phased out by the end of the year, and they do actually have a last buy. So they are doing it properly. They are phasing it last buys on these boards. You can buy 100,000 of these development boards. We'll make them for you. Just give us the order.
Right.
Yep. Wouldn't it be ironic if the last orders came in and actually made it viable?
That's how it usually goes, right? And then they go, wait a second.
It wouldn't be the first time, A chip company's gone, last buys on this chip. We're shutting this down, and then all of a sudden they get an order for 10 million chips, and it's back in business. It's popular again.
Right.
And we'll keep that one in stock.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Well, sorry to anyone who's developing on that, but I mean, this is. I mean, I guess it's a good time to bring up. It's not just Intel, right? It's not like, oh, Intel shut this. Chip companies do this stuff all the time, and you should always be cognizant of it. And, I always tell the people that I'm teaching on my course, I'm like, look, it's always going to be a guessing game.
Chip companies are better than this. They're not as fickle as this. I mean, this almost comes into the fickle territory. It's only been 2 years or something.
I don't really know. Is it only been? Are you sure?
I
it feels like
I don't
longer.
know. I'm probably not too far off, but anyway.
See what the old wiki has to say. I think that I don't know. You should always be careful with this stuff, right? Any line can shut down, and like I said, I always try and teach students that like you're gonna do a best guess, right? You try and go for a popular part that might not be shut down, and you can. And when we had Bunny on the first time, right? He always talked about like trying to design stuff in that was in an iPhone 4 because that lowered the cost. But again, there's no guarantee that certain parts won't get replaced with other ones and whatever, right? There's always a chance of an obsolescence. Right. So, make your code portable. That's a good way to, as much as you can, right? Document your projects as much as you can.
Yeah, but the problem is, like, the modern computing architectures like the Edisons and everything else, right? The Raspberry Pis and all the rest of them, right? They're so powerful that you're crazy not to use these in your product, actually in your product to... if you've got a real power-hungry, internet connected product, like it makes sense to use these boards. But the problem in your final, like you might build a whole company around the fact that you're going to put a Raspberry Pi in something. You've got some neat application that runs on the Raspberry Pi, and right, you can build a $10 million business making these things, right? But you're totally reliant upon the continued manufacture of that board. And and if they're not completely open source, like the Raspberry Pi is not open source, for example, if they suddenly stop making it or abandon that version of the product and you can't port it over to something, you're forced to port it over or you're forced to go out of business.
Yeah,
because you can't get that board anymore. You've based your product around that module. It's no different to basing your product around some custom whiz-bang chip from Texas Instruments or somebody else, right?
Yeah, I'd say the only difference is that... at least with a board, if you're doing it at a board level, you can maybe have a connector, and that becomes your interface. That's your abstraction is through the connector. That's probably one of the better things about things like an Arduino or even like a Teensy is a different version. It uses Arduino IDE.
So you have a daughter board that's the same, so it doesn't matter whether there's a Raspberry Pi on there or there's an Arduino or there's
you can always redesign it with some other chip in the future onto a board that plugs in, but then the trade-off there is
increased cost and complexity in your final product.
Or size too, right? I mean,
you've
got more stuff.
Of course. Yeah, you've got you've got these big pin headers or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is literally a decision that I made for the header that I talked about many episodes ago now. Just because it future-proofs you a little bit. It's never going to be completely future-proof, but it by dumbing down the features a little bit and by or reducing the number of features rather, and then putting it through some kind of simple interface, then you can at least rework it later. And I can't tell you the number of projects that when I was working on obsolete products, it's like, your best case scenario is you put some kind of landing pads around that chip you're trying to replace, and then as that, especially like that's an intermediate step, right? So you have a chip, and then you have the headers around the chip or the pin landings around the chip, and then eventually, you make two boards, right? You make two full products, and then you put them side by side, and the old product has the old chip, and the new product has that plugged-in board, and that's how you test that it does the exact same thing, because that's all that really matters in keeping those things alive,
It's safe to do these things with some things, like, for example, an ESP8266 module, right? Because they're so ubiquitous. You can buy them from every man and his dog, right? And that, that's something you don't really have to worry about. And, of course, you can duplicate the board yourself, as long as you can still get the actual chip. Like buying the module is nothing, because you can always relay out that module yourself and just buy the chip and get it soldered and made. But are the Intel boards open... I can't even remember if they're open source. Are they open source enough that people could actually take the Intel Atom processor and actually make their own Intel Edison board? Like, are they that,
Prototype with open source hardware and software. I'm just looking on here. Honestly, I have no idea.
Right.
Open source is mentioned once. So.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, like, all these things are built for... So they have a standardized header, it looks like, as well. So, I mean, in the worst case scenario, you buy what looks like a Samtec header, and you do a replacement there.
You buy, exactly. And you put you put your own Intel Atom processor on there,
Right,
or whatever's in the Edison, and
Yeah,
Yep.
right. Yep. The only constant, Dave, in our lives is change.
Except for the 555 timer.
Except for the 555. Oh, nice one. Yeah. Well, it does change a little bit, it looks like.
Apparently, there's enough margin in the 555 timer, probably the most ubiquitous chip in the world, for fakes.
Right. Yeah, so Zeptobars was doing some, one of our favorite capturers
we love Zeptobar's website.
Of die shots and everything, yeah.
They're the masters of the die shot.
Yes. And apparently, there are fakes, but man, how much can they be making on this, right?
I don't know. And, well, that's the thing, right? Not only are they fake, but they actually brand them as TI. They brand them as genuine TI. It's like, wow.
Well, a bit of silkscreen's pretty cheap, so that part's easy.
It is. But like, why wouldn't if you're gonna
build your own brand, build your own 555 brand, right?
It's like there can't be that many people out there desperate. Oh, I must specify in the Texas Instruments 555.
And things like this make me think too that like I haven't been desperate, and I have not made a low enough cost design to be this desperate. Right, because that the low cost things that we're seeing on eBay, right? That's where this came from. Is they were looking at eBay parts. That's actually coming from, they're just getting put on eBay from the markets probably, which means that
and there's 1,000-time markup on the
exactly,
eBay price
and so that
compared
means
to what they're buying them for.
There's someone that's going between 3 RMB and 2 RMB, right? But that is such a critical amount of currency for this one project that that's the thing you got to do, right? And it's like, damn, that's crazy. I mean, they're probably buying reels and whatever, but
Reels, none of that real rubbish. This is dip tubes, man.
Tubes, you're right, of course.
Hey,
why would you dip parts? Oh man,
yes.
Yeah, you still love them, huh?
Old school.
Still love the dip
still
parts.
Love them. Yep, even when they embed in my foot.
Yeah. Dip parts and Legos.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man.
Speaking of Zeptobars.
Yeah, there was another one.
They have finally torn down the Batterizer, Batteroo ASIC chip.
I haven't heard of this chip before. I don't really know what you're...
No,
they
actually
heard you say
did...
this word Batterizer before.
Ah, right. Yeah, probably not. It turns out they weren't lying. They did actually make their own custom chip.
Well, no, I read this, though, too.
I thought they were doing.
There is a custom chip. It doesn't mean they made it, though.
Oh, no. But
right? They could have just
I'm not sure who actually
one.
designed it. They probably contracted out one of the... Well, you'd be crazy if you didn't go to one of the... They actually have contacts. In fact, I traced down that the CEO of Batterizer used to work with somebody who's now the head of the DC to DC boost converter at some company. I forget their name. I posted on the forum.
Okay. Yeah.
So they probably use their contacts there to get them to design this custom variant of probably an existing part they had. It's probably, I don't know. But anyway, it's actually pretty cool chip. It has very limited use.
Dave Jones just said something nice about Batterizer. Look at that.
I've said it quite a few times on the forum. There's nothing new about this.
Gotcha.
And everyone's saying the same thing. It's actually a nice solution for what it is. It's actually it's probably the world's best chip at what it does, right? It's the lowest quiescent current, etc. Blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. But it's limited in its use. It's their application is still complete and utter impractical.
Right, and it's basically a boost converter.
Bullshit.
That's the idea, right? It was like
it's a
two-stage boost converter. Something like that.
It's a synchronous 2-phase boost.
Yeah.
Not stage phase.
Right.
So, yep.
Okay.
Anyway, and they've got like a data sheet for it now. And apparently, I don't know, if you talk to them, you could buy it if you needed a single cell.
You might be able to buy it on the market on eBay for cheaper at some point.
Yeah, right. Yeah, someone will rip this off because there's such a need for a single cell boost converter.
Right.
It would have, and a lot of people on the forum are talking about why didn't they just design it with like to make it a bit more universal, a tiny bit more universal. voltage range, and it would have been more useful.
like a commercial product at that point, right?
Yeah. But they were so tied in with their, they were so obsessed with their ridiculous false idea that everyone needed, that this batterizer thing was going to save the world.
Yeah. Yep.
They were so obsessed with that. That they didn't make the design universal enough to make it a, otherwise it'd be a reasonably successful chip. So anyway, yeah, there's a die shot.
Yeah.
So
we've got other ones too. Look at this.
It is custom.
There's another one. There was the Zeptobars has been busy, or we haven't checked very often apparently.
Right. Yeah.
The Power NPN BJT. Did you see that one?
No.
So I've been posting all these as I see them pop up on Twitter, basically.
Right.
But this one is actually really it's gorgeous design. It's really just the metal layer shown.
I've seen it. Oh yeah, yes, I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just love the symmetrical layout.
I mean, it looks like
I'm a symmetry
art.
guy.
It really does.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
And this is just metal layer, though.
Right? But there'd be a technical reason why. Can that photo of that die, that Power BJT die, be the photo for this episode or whatever? Because that's really cool.
Well, we don't have the license for it, but maybe.
Oh, they won't mind. Zepto bars are cool. They won't mind us.
We'll send them some traffic. It'll be great.
We'll send them traffic, reciprocal links,
Oh, yeah. That's how the internet works, man.
Yep.
I send you traffic, you send me traffic. We're all friends now. Yeah.
But there's probably a technical reason why that symmetry and that layout works, like in terms of because with BJTs on silicon, I'm probably starting to talk out my ass here. In fact, I guarantee I am.
Right. Yeah, an hour in. That's when it started.
It's like surface area and efficiency of surface area and all sorts of symmetry in surface area which
honestly I still have trouble looking at this stuff.
Because I was actually reading the other day. I went down a rabbit hole here the other day, and found that the thermal transfer rate across a die is, if memory serves me correctly from the other night, I was reading this late at night, is 1 micrometer per microsecond. That is how fast when you heat up, I can find the reference for it.
So if you had a point source of heat, you're saying?
When you, if there's an individual transistor that you're overloading on a die or is heating up on a die, right, how fast does that heat spread across the die? Right, and it turns out it's 1 micrometer per microsecond or something.
And that's regardless of heat sinking or anything else. You're saying
that makes no difference. It's because the heat's got to spread across the die in order to get out of the package, in order to get to the thermal pad, in order to get out. Right, so it's all to do with
any idea if that was at the silicon layer, or if that was higher up in the substrate?
No. This is silicon layer. This is how it spreads across the silicon.
Interesting. Okay.
So if you heat up an individual, it was to do with overloading an individual output transistor.
Right, because then it would
a totem pole output.
Right. If the heat starts to spread, because there's really the heat would start to spread, and then the ions would start to migrate because of the heat starting to release some of their bonds and stuff like that, right?
Right,
and that's
all
really
that physics stuff, right?
Yada, ion implantation. Pretend Chris remembers anything from his silicon days.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And I thought that was fascinating.
That really is, yeah.
I had never heard that figure stated before for the heat transfer rate across the surface of an encapsulated die.
Dude, that would be a good video, I'm saying. If you could find more about that.
I know.
That would be good.
To get I do actually have that new FLIR thermal camera, but A, it wouldn't be fast enough, and then B, it wouldn't be lower resolution enough.
I was going to say, it doesn't work through a microscope, does it?
And exactly. I would have to have specific thermal germanium macro lenses,
or a lot of tiny thermocouples.
Google it. Can you buy a germanium thermal macro lens?
What?
Here we go.
You say it would pass
live
through?
Live googling.
You're saying that because it would pass through, the IR would pass through?
Yes, yeah. They make these lenses. Lenses in thermal cameras are made out of germanium, typically, because it passes
lens
thermal.
Gives your FLIR higher clarity, according to Hackaday.
What?
A $40 lens gives your FLIR higher clarity. For the E4 thermal camera, they put some lens on it.
I've got one. Send me the link. I've got the E8.
Okay. Well, there you go. Maybe that'll help. Look at that. Live Googling works. Yeah. No, that's interesting. So you're just saying that it helps to actually focus the IR or what?
Well, yeah, a lens, thermal cameras are no different to regular cameras. You've got to have a lens system on there that focuses a wide field view onto your particular dye surface area. It's got to be the focal length. It's all the optics are all the same, except
It's just a different wavelength.
A different wavelength.
Yeah.
So they've got to make them out of germanium or some other material that can pass thermal.
Interesting.
Right? So yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, I hope to see that soon. One last dye-based item from our list. Electron Update, we did a teardown look at the 6502 CMOS version, which I didn't realize was a different thing. My silicon history is pretty lame.
Yeah,
so.
you suck at it. Yeah, just
yeah.
don't bother.
So, anyways,
Anyway, we've had Chuck Peddle on the show.
Right. We should refer
Now,
people back to that one of
episode.
the best episodes.
And this is
we've
a
done.
great video. We'll link this one in.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's just basically a teardown and explanation of the 6502 die.
Right.
So
and I'm amazed people are still doing this stuff.
The 65CO2.
Right. They're still building stuff. Like there's still like a huge community around the whole vintage thing. They love it. Simple instruction set, I suppose, and peeking and poking.
Because the CMOS die would be the 65CO2, entirely different dye, entirely different technology to the presumably bipolar 6502.
I guess it would have been. Yeah.
Or
I don't even know.
Whatever. Yeah.
Right. But we did talk to Chuck about that. It probably was, right?
Right. I don't remember.
No, it wouldn't have been BJT. Maybe.
Well, it's not a CMOS. Whatever the opposite to the CMOS process is.
Instead of
MOS or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Or
no.
No. It's no. It's got to be like a.
Now we're talking to our ass.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm looking it up again.
I'm looking it up again. Furiously.
Look, we're at 351 episodes, folks. Give us a break. Give us a goddamn break. Also, we don't really know what we're talking about. Yeah, this is actually confusing.
This CMOS version was done by the Western Design Center. Was done by a different group. So, anyway.
I'm going to throw myself on the altar of embarrassment here. I don't get it. I don't. What's the difference?
What between a CMOS processor and a regular processor at the time? Back in the day, dude, this is really important. All of the notebooks back in the day, right? Using the CMOS version of the 6502 would allow you not only to get a lower power CPU for a given clock speed, so important in battery powered like the early notebooks. They weren't called notebooks, well, whatever they were.
Okay.
Like the Tandy Radio Shack, the Trash 100, for example, right?
Okay.
Sorry for those TRS fanboys using the trash term trash for TRS. Oops.
Okay, so I found what I was looking for here.
Anyway, so not only do they give you slower rate, but you can actually slow them down to an arbitrarily slow clock speed, right? So if you're just a lot of the old computers that were battery powered would dynamically slow down to 10 kilohertz or something if you're just waiting for key presses, right? And then once it's doing processing, it'll start up again at the 4 megahertz rate or whatever the processor with 2 megahertz or whatever the processor was capable of, right? Because you wouldn't want to always run it at 2 megahertz if you're just sitting there waiting for it, scanning for a key press, for example. Okay. And also, so not only could you arbitrarily slow them down to an arbitrarily slow clock speed like 1 hertz, you could slow them down to 0 hertz and put the processor in freeze. You just stop the clock and it just stays there. It stays in that state. And that was a big thing. So all of the, a lot of the early computers, when you shut them down, they'd simply freeze the processor. Everything's still in memory. The processor still has all its registers. And when you turn it back on, boom, and the processor just starts up again instantly where it's left off. It's no loading an image back off a drive or something.
Right.
That modern bloody computers do.
Yep.
It was a big deal.
Okay, so the thing that I was confused about is CMOS versus what? That's really what I was confused about.
Okay,
and I remember, that's what Chuck was talking about. Remember he talked about, this is a while ago now, but he was talking about, remember they only had one type of transistor, and so that was NMOS, so depletion load NMOS. That's what they were using on the 6502.
Yes, right.
C is complementary, right? So you have N channel and P
Complementary,
channel.
that's right. Okay. Yep,
and then the other one is HMOS, I'm reading. That was later. That's what they use for high density short channel MOS, HMOS. That's what
I don't remember
Intel
that being
with.
hugely popular, was it?
HMOS. Oof. Again, we're looking all this stuff up live.
Anyway,
I feel like we shouldn't be embarrassed about this stuff at a certain point. Like,
I know.
Who's going to remember all this stuff? But anyways, HMOS was later, and then BiCMOS, that was in the later on after that. There's just a lot of different MOS types.
And now they've got 20 million different variants of processors.
I mean, what's the BCD? What's that one?
Did we talk about one the other
CMOS,
week? That was
DMOS or something like that? Or
I don't know.
I don't remember. I remember BCD
crazy.
process, but that's like a combined process.
We were talking about that Intel 5 nanometer thing, weren't we? Or the the IBM 5 nanometer thing the other week.
Right.
And it would use some whiz bang new bloody process.
And, well, that was not the like the CMOS versus the NMOS, as far as I can tell, though, is it's actually how you're building each gate, right? So in the NMOS, you're building with three transistors, but there's not different doping like you need with CMOS, right? So you have an N channel, P channel. You actually turn them on. That's like the what'd you call it, totem pole, right? So that's like the thing you were talking about, and then that's like CMOS, right? Where you basically turn it on and off like an inverter, right? And then NMOS, though, I'm not sure how that worked, but that was what the 6502 was originally. So that's
right. Well, a CMOS inverter is simply two gates. It's and you just two MOSFETs, and you tie the input gates together and tie the outputs together, and that's like in a totem pole configuration. It literally is just one totem pole, and you feed the signal into the two gates.
But isn't one is an N and one is a P, right?
And it's and then when you tie the gates together, when you input a high or low to a gate, it turns one transistor on or the other. It literally is that easy.
Yeah.
So
yes, that sounds right. And if not, I'm sure our people forget. We have a comment section, so you can come and tell us how stupid we are.
Yeah, tell us that we're wrong, because we always are.
Like usual.
Yep.
There was one other thing I wanted to mention, because there was another thing on our list about process stuff.
Oh, yes, an NMOS an NMOS inverter doesn't use a totem pole arrangement. It uses effectively a pull-up resistor arrangement.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. So it might use another transistor as a resistor, right?
Uh-huh.
I don't know the physical implementation of the resistor on the die, but that's the difference. So an NMOS inverter is like using a single transistor with a pull-up resistor.
Oh, interesting.
That's
and
so
that's going to be a higher power burn, that kind of thing, right?
And higher power burn and all that sort of thing.
Right.
That's
and
why
slower
CMOS
because of
is
capacitance built in. You get an RC effect, that kind of thing, right?
Exactly. And so that's why CMOS is CMOS killed it overnight.
We don't even need to friggin' think about this stuff anymore, It's like...
I know. It's just like...
It's just like, oh, okay, well, I guess that... It's just digital work, whatever.
Yeah. Anyway.
So there was a thing about... I saw 7 nanometers on our list here somewhere. 7 nanometers. Can't find it, of course. Oh, here we go. Global Foundries. So, Global Foundries, who is what... basically, Global Foundries is what AMD did, which I think Intel will eventually do. They split out the fab, right, from AMD.
Right.
Right. So basically, they're already preparing for 7 nanometer. So we talked about the IBM 5 nanometer before. Global is just going straight for it for production. So that's crazy. Yeah.
It's getting to a point where I simply will not trust these chips. Surely.
I mean,
I don't
come on,
care.
man. We can't see them now. We're not going to be able to see them then. It doesn't matter,
I don't know. It's...
Just hope they test it.
Gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. Well, you can always go back and, you can go back to basics, Dave.
Right.
With this...
To my Amish...
With this lovely kit from SparkFun. I don't know if you saw this one. They started selling it again. I mean, I don't know if it ever stopped being sold, but I didn't see them for a while. SparkFun is selling the 130-in-1 kits.
Oh, right. Nice. Oh, made by Elenco, right. Yep.
I didn't. Those have been made for. I didn't know they were still making them.
Oh, they've been still making them. I don't think they've ever stopped. There's always been a company that's made them.
Yeah, okay. I thought they get discontinued.
No, like Radio Shack / Tandy stopped making them, but other companies picked them up. Other companies just copied the form factor.
Yeah, it's just springs and cardboard, basically.
Yeah, springs and cardboard and chips put on the.
I love it though. I love that they're selling this. Yeah. It's like $50 too. Like that's a great thing for buying for a niece or nephew, and just yeah.
I'll be doing that. I'll be dragging out my 30-year-old one and actually playing with Sagan, and we'll build it up, and we'll build up
that'd be fun.
A circuit on there. Oh, yeah, right, totally.
Yeah. That's how that's how a lot of people got started. So you can still buy them. That's great.
Yep. And what are the chips on there now? It's got to be the same. Like there's a couple of trannies on there. There's a bunch of green caps by the looks of it. There's some. And there's a couple of NAND gates. And,
it says integrated circuits NAND gates. There's an op amp.
And the old AM antenna rod.
Oh, yeah.
Because the value in these is the, not so much the physical platform as such, but the manual, like the circuits and the manual and the schematics and the information.
Not really the fact that you just can wire stuff together. I mean, it's like there's no soldering required. Even bending leads isn't required.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much just point to point. Yeah, just this plugs into here, this plugs into there, and you're off to the races. This is a dopamine generator. That's what you want. That is the best part for getting started in electronics, is a dopamine generator.
Cool. Well, that's our show, isn't it?
Oh, by far.
We're Dunsky.
Yeah. Anyone else wants to, they can go and see our subreddit, which has many more links and continues to throughout the weeks. So. Oh, cool. I had a chip for the week. I don't know if that was...
We already had a chip of the week.
You had a chip of the week.
Yeah, I had a chip of the week.
Yeah, you didn't have the part number for it, though, did you? You said the
TI
80 gigahertz something.
Yeah, something or other. I've got it right in front of me. I can't see it because it's so bloody small.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Need a microscope and the light at the right angle to,
Well, I was going to recommend the CSR 8645, which is a crazy... It's Qualcomm, but it's a... you just look at what's in this thing, you're like, what the hell? And it's like $1. But basically, this is like the design that's in like every... when you get your email for you want Bluetooth speaker... What I didn't realize is that Bluetooth speaker is actually reference design speaker.
Right.
So this is what's in a lot of them, and basically it acts as it can act as the speaker or it can act as the headset, and that's what's crazy. So it's got a microphone, it's got a DAC, so it's got an ADC, a DAC, it's got DSP on board, it's got battery charging and tons and
it's got the Bluetooth interface, does it, or is that a separate chip?
Yeah, it's a 4.1 Bluetooth. So so it's all in this one thing, right? This kind of reminds me of.
It's a complete custom ASIC solution for a product. It's specifically tailored for Bluetooth headsets.
This is a Bluetooth. This is a Bluetooth headset thing that it's awesome. Yeah. So
and it's probably even got battery charging circuitry and all sorts of crap in, right?
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah, and this kind of reminded me of chip. We talked to. I don't remember if you were on the show with us with Jürgen. Yeah, who did this for the audio stuff for.
I think I was. I do remember that.
Yeah, for hearing aids. Yeah, you were.
Yep.
Yeah. No, you weren't.
When I? Weren't. Anyway, I do remember
it. Yeah. So anyways, yes.
Anyway, very cool.
Yeah. That kind of stuff where it's just like these super, super integrated things. So we go from 130-in-1 kits to completely integrated single chip solutions.
Yeah. That's probably in some pain-in-the-ass flip chip bloody bullshit package,
You will not have a good time soldering this. Yeah. Where is it? Package 5.1, 5.5 by 5.5 millimeter, 0.5 millimeter pitch.
Massive pin pitch at 0.5 millimeter.
Oh yeah, right. You get more than 0.4.
Yeah, no, it's 0.4 rubbish.
Right. 0.8. Yeah. What's that for? Giants.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, man.
That's
cool.
it.
We'll talk to you next week.
Catch you next time.